Hi all, this is Xander. I'm back again with part 4 of my video series on my spiritual life and experiences. So in 1997, I had been here in Florida for 3 years, and I went back to my hometown, Syracuse, New York, and I decided I was going to find a new religion. Just forget Christianity. I'm going to find a religion that speaks to me. So at the time, we had the internet. We had the internet for a couple of years, and I decided I had internet access through AOL, and I decided to do an internet search on different religions. I decided to start new. I'm gonna go research different religions online. That's what I did, and I also went to my local bookstores and looked through the books in the religion section to see what I could find. So I researched various religions, and I also I went to the bookstore and looked at the books there. And I decided on paganism. And I decided on paganism because you were in tune with nature, you were in tune with the seasons of the year, and I thought that it would be very healing and grounding for me to be in connection with nature and with Earth, Mother Earth, and the seasons of the year. So I decided on paganism, and for some reason I decided that because I was a pagan, I had to be a witch, or I had to have like an occult practice along with it. I learned that you can be a pagan and not be an occultist. You can be a pagan and not be a witch or a magician. But I decided, I have to have some type of little occult practice on the side to go along with my paganism. So I decided on witchcraft, although I wasn't really enthused about it. I thought I was more attracted to magic than I was to witchcraft. Those two are different. But I decided on witchcraft, but I wasn't really enthused about it. But I did go out and I bought a couple of books on it to learn about witchcraft. And I was only a pagan for a year, and I was only interested in witchcraft for 1 year. And that's because I read the books on witchcraft that I had bought, and I decided that it was too complicated for me. It was just way too complicated. That in order to do both paganism and witchcraft, you had to be very detail-oriented. You had to follow the seasons. You had to follow the 8 pagan rituals, celebrations, Sabbaths. In witchcraft, you had to keep track of the moon cycles. Where is the moon in the sky? What zodiac sign are we in? What day of the week is it? And you had to structure your magical or witchy workings according to all those things. And it struck me as being very complex and complicated. And you had to keep track of these things all the time. And I just felt like, I'm not dumb, but I'm not into stuff that is that complex. So after a year, I decided that paganism wasn't for me, and witchcraft definitely wasn't for me. So I dropped those, and I decided to just go with the New Age. So in 1998, I became a New Ager. And I decided that I was going to start, in accordance with my goals of finding guidance, direction, and wisdom, and finding emotional healing. I decided that the New Age was the way for me. So I started to go to psychics on a regular basis and to tarot readers regularly and to acupuncturists. I tried acupuncture. I tried acupressure. I tried, those were the main New Age practices that I sought out, but I know I tried other things. I tried as many New Age therapies as I could find in my city, and I went to the psychics and the tarot readers on a regular basis because I was desperate. My family was, my parents were narcissists, and my brothers went along with them, and I had no help, no direction, no guidance, no wisdom from my family. And the emotional abuse from my mother continued decade after decade after decade. It continued into the 90s, just nonstop. The one insult or one put down every 4 or 5 days really takes a toll on a person. And I was feeling it, and I needed healing from it. I was desperate for it. So I decided any New Age healing modality that would help me, I was going to try it. And I did. And the tarot readers, one of the tarot readers said, you're intuitive. She said to me, you're intuitive. And she said, you should be doing this for yourself. She said, you should buy a tarot deck and you should start doing tarot readings on yourself. She said, do it once a month. And so I bought a tarot deck, and it was like, oh, okay. And I bought a tarot book to learn the meanings of the tarot cards. And I started doing a tarot reading on myself once a month, and quickly learned that I did not like it. And I didn't like it because it was too accurate. And it was, and I was getting really specific meanings from the cards, and I knew what was coming during the month, and it would happen. And that freaked me out a lot. And so I only did that 3 or 4 times afterwards with the tarot readings, but I didn't like it. Every time I did it, I didn't like it. And the psychics and the tarot readers, they gave me a lot of bad advice because you remember I'm a born-again Christian, and I'm doing this stuff. And the psychics and the tarot readers are giving me advice, and the Holy Spirit is telling me, don't do that. That's really, really bad. Do not follow her advice. That will not serve you well. Anyways, that happened a lot. One psychic did tell me something that was helpful to me in my journey with my narcissistic family. One day I went to this lady, and I said to her, I don't know what to do about my parents. And I said, sometimes I'm together with them, and one of them will play the bad cop and another will play the good cop. And I said, and then sometimes I'll be with them and they'll switch roles, and one will be the good cop and one the bad cop, and they'll play different roles. And I said, what is going on there? I said, are they both bad people? Or are they both good people? Or is one bad and one good? And she said, no. She kind of looked off into the distance like she was seeing something. And she said, no, they're a team. They work together. She said, it isn't that one is a good cop and one's a bad cop. They're both bad, and they both work together. And so that really opened my eyes to what was going on with my mom and dad, that they were both on the same side and they were not on my side. So that was an eye-opener. And then in 2000, I decided to go no contact with my family because there was a situation that developed with my father. He was mistreating me. I will not go into detail on what he was doing to manipulate me. Narcissistic parents are very manipulative and very controlling. And he was engaging in behavior which, if I told you, you wouldn't believe me. It was bad. So I decided to go no contact with my parents, and I decided to move out of my parents' house. Actually, from the time I was 20 to the time I was maybe 35 or 40, I had moved out of my parents' house 5 or 6 times just to get away from them. And every time I had to move back for financial reasons. But in 2000, I really decided to go no contact with them. And I found myself an apartment in Syracuse near the New Age bookstore. That was key. And I had during the year 2000 into 2001, I had what I call my year of transformation. I was in the New Age, heavy into the New Age at that time. And during my year in that apartment, I deconstructed from evangelicalism. Basically, I took apart everything that I had been taught by my pastor, all those teachings that I felt uncomfortable with, and I took them apart one by one, piece by piece. I would go through in my mind all the things that I'd been taught that I didn't feel comfortable with, and I deconstructed them one by one during that year. And by the end of the year, I had fully deconstructed from evangelicalism. And decided that I was not an evangelical. I had never been an evangelical. I'd always been a Bible Christian. And that's what I started to think of myself as, a Bible Christian, not an evangelical. And so I examined each teaching and I took it apart and I liberated myself from it. I learned a lot of New Age teachings during that year. I learned about spirit guides. I learned about the higher self, which I'd never heard about that before. I learned about, all the stuff about aliens and UFOs. I learned about soul contracts. That's a big New Age teaching that they tell you that before you came here, you signed a contract with God, that certain things would happen in your life. And so you need to stop complaining about when stuff goes wrong in your life. You need to stop complaining because you signed on to it. You signed a contract that certain people you would get along with, and then certain other people would mistreat you. And so you need to be okay with all of that. That's the soul contract. I learned that they believed in reincarnation, and at that time I was not okay with that at all. What else did I learn? Oh, I just learned a whole host of different New Age teachings. I forgot to tell you that when I was 20, I went to my first psychic fair. So by the year 2000, I was going to psychic fairs on a regular basis and partaking of different people's readings. I was buying a lot of New Age paraphernalia, crystals, and jewelry, New Age jewelry, and lots of New Age books on different topics. So I was really getting into it, big time. And also during that year, for some odd reason, I became an Episcopalian. I decided to officially leave the Roman Catholic Church, and I became an Episcopalian while I was doing the New Age stuff. And I found an Episcopalian church that had a female pastor. I decided I've had enough of male pastors. So for 1 year, I did attend an Episcopal church while I was doing the New Age stuff. But then it turned dark. I got on the phone with one of my cousins is a big New Ager out in Arizona, and I called her for advice, and she told me that I was not grounded and that I needed to do grounding exercises on a regular basis, and she told me what to do to ground. And that's when the hell started. That's when the really dark stuff started to happen for me. And I started to come under not demonic control, but demonic oppression. That's what they call it. Not possession, but oppression. So my cousin gave me this grounding exercise where I was supposed to channel white light using my mind. I was supposed to channel white light through the top of my head, down through my body, and down through my legs, and down into the center of the earth. That's what she told me to do. And to surround myself with a bubble of white light. And when you listen to New Agers, they will often mention the white light, surrounding yourself with white light as protection. So that's what I began to do on a daily basis. I began to do the grounding exercise on a daily basis. I began to channel this white light into me and ground myself into the center of the earth, and then surround myself with a bubble of white light that surrounded me on all sides. And that's when the trouble started. So the first thing that started was, the first thing that happened that I noticed was I had an experience with a dark entity. They call them shadow people. So one night I was in my apartment alone, and I was asleep, but this being, this dark entity, came into my bedroom, and all of a sudden I became lucid. Even though I was asleep, my body was asleep, my mind and my spirit became lucid, and I became aware of what was going on. And this dark entity came through the wall of my bedroom, and he sat on top of me. He was small. He looked like a ninja. He was a small being, but he had dark clothes on, and I could not see his face or his body. And he sat on top of me while I was asleep, and he pinned me. He straddled me, and he pinned me, and he grabbed my throat. And I tried to scream, and I couldn't scream. And it was a bad experience. That happened. And then I began to have demonic dreams, which to me didn't seem demonic at first. But what happened was I would go to this place in the astral realm, what they call the astral realm. I would go to this place that would take me down an elevator or an escalator. It would take me down. A person or a being or something would come and get me and take me down this elevator or escalator, depended on the dream. They would take me down, and they would take me down into the inner earth. The first dream was pretty benign. I went into what I considered to be Middle Earth, and they took me down there, and they showed me an ancient city that had sunk into Middle Earth. And actually the Bible talks about that. The Bible talks about how God sinks certain places and sends them down into the netherworld, into the interior of the earth. The Bible actually talks about that. how God makes certain locations sink down and certain other locations rise up. And somebody, I don't know who it was, I didn't see the person or the demon or the being, but somebody took me down to this Middle Earth location where I saw an ancient city. It looked like Greek, maybe. And it looked very sandy to me. I don't know if that was the color of the city, that it was all kind of yellow sandish color, or what. But I walked around and I looked and I saw buildings that looked like buildings we have today, right? Civilized place, but it was down in Middle Earth. That was my first dream. And then the dreams got a little weird, and I was taken down to another place in Middle Earth where I saw fairies and, what do you call those things? Those cartoon characters. Oh, I don't remember. Smurfs? Smurfs. You know, there are Christians who say that Smurfs are demonic beings, and I actually saw Smurfs in my dream. Okay? Just telling you. I didn't interact with them, but I was taken by fairies, fairy beings. Don't ask me. This is just what happened. I was taken down to a Middle Earth location. It looked like a forest, and I was taken down to this very beautiful, lush forest type area, trees, grass, beautiful greenery, and they took me into the place where they lived. They lived like in an apartment building, but their apartment building was below ground. And so they took me down into their apartment building, and one of them got on the phone and called someone and said, don't worry, we have her. She's with us. Don't ask me. I began to have these very strange dreams of non-angelic beings who took me down into places I had never been before inside the earth. And then what else happened? Oh, I had a dream. Then I moved home in 2001, but the dreams continued. And I began to feel heavy demonic oppression. It was not depression, it was oppression. Like a very deep heaviness all around me. And this happened after I started doing the grounding exercises that my New Age cousin recommended to me. Also, the white bubble that she recommended that I put around me, that white bubble started to feel very harsh to me, the energy of it. New Agers talk about, there are two words that they use a lot. One is energy and the other is vibration. And I did learn that from them, that everything is energy and vibration. And I still believe that to this day. I still believe everything is energy and vibration. That doesn't mean that you're not Christian. It just means it's just an additional belief, okay? So in 2001 and 2002, I started to experience really heavy demonic oppression. And it felt like, and I realized I wasn't getting anywhere with this New Age stuff. It wasn't getting me anywhere. The psychics and the tarot readers did not have answers for me. The New Age therapies like the acupuncture and the acupressure, they were temporary fixes that wore off, and you had to keep going back to the therapist to get fixed. So that wasn't working. And I was becoming very disillusioned with the New Age by then, by 2001, 2002. And I think that the beings around me, probably demonic beings, were not happy with me. And the oppression became very, very heavy. And in 2002, I stopped doing all the New Age stuff, the psychics and the tarot readers, but I got into two Hindu. I learned about two Hindu gurus that were very interesting to me. One was Sai Baba. He was Satya Sai Baba was a Hindu avatar he died in 2006. He was notable because he was a man of miracles, and I still have a book on him in my library. He was known for his extraordinary miracles. And so I learned about Sai Baba, and I learned about his teachings, about how he used to teach people. He used to have people of all religions come to his center, and he used to teach them whatever you are, whether it's Christian, Hindu, Muslim, Jewish, whatever you are, be a good one. That's all he would teach. He would never try to convert people. He would always just say, whatever you are, be a good one. And he would preach love. I found out later he was a PDF file. Yeah, and so, his miracles were extraordinary, but he as a person was not very extraordinary. I also learned about another Hindu avatar. Her name, she's still alive, I think. Her name is Mother Mira. She, I don't know if she has any miraculous abilities, but she is a good moral teacher. And she embodies the divine feminine in Hinduism. And she does, you can find her on YouTube, actually. You can find her videos on her channel on YouTube and her videos. She does what is called darshan, where she has her devotees gather in a room with her, and she imparts energy to them. I don't know what kind of energy. I would never do that, because I was taught as a Christian to be skeptical of that type of thing. But she also specifically, she'll have people come up to her and kneel in front of her, not to worship her, but to receive an impartation. And Christians, charismatic Pentecostal Christians, know what impartation is. It's just transferring a power or an energy that you have onto another person. She has the ability to transmit what is called the Paramatman light into people. She'll put her hands on your head, and she will impart what is called the Paramatman light into you. And that is a divine feminine light. Okay, so in 2002, I learned about those two people, but I was at the end of my New Age journey, and I was ready to come back to Christianity because I thought it was safer. The demonic oppression and the bad dreams kept coming and coming and coming night after night after night. So in mid-2002, I decided I'd had enough of the New Age and the metaphysical stuff and all that. So I decided I was going to go back to the way it used to be. Me and God and my Bible at home. I decided I was going to focus on the Bible this time. Not church, not churchianity, just the Bible. So in 2002, I did that. I also started to have prophetic dreams. In 2001, about 10 or 11 days before 9/11, it was around September 1st, 2001, I had a prophetic dream of 9/11. I was standing in a parking lot. I was standing in a local, actually in my dream, I was in a local parking lot in Syracuse, New York. I was standing next to my car. I looked up into the sky, and there was a plane going by, and actually in that neighborhood, that is a path for the planes in my area. And I saw a plane flying low overhead, which was normal. But the problem is, all of a sudden, the plane that I saw stopped in midair, and it became like a baton, like a majorette's baton. It stopped in midair, and it started doing those twisty-turny things that the batons do with the majorettes with their batons. It started spinning, and smoke started coming out of the windows of the plane. And I was like, oh my God, oh my God. And then it would stop, and then the plane would stop, and it would go forward a little, and then it would stop again, and it would do the twisty-turny thing with the smoke coming out of the windows again. And it did it 3 times. And remember, on 9/11, there were 3 planes that went down, okay? So I was being told prophetically that there was going to be a problem with 3 planes. I didn't know when. I didn't know where. I just had this prophetic dream. I saw this thing happen. I just knew something bad was going to happen. It was a very clear but very prophetic dream. And 10 days later, 11 days later, it happened. 9/11 happened. Also, in 2001 into 2002, I started to read about Catholic saints, Catholic people, famous. So I read The 7-Story Mountain by Thomas Merton. That was quite a book. I was very impressed by him. Thomas Merton was a Trappist or Cistercian monk in Kentucky. He started there in the 1920s or 1930s, and he continued until his death in like 1968. But I recommend his book, The 7-Story Mountain, is very interesting, his spiritual journey. Also, I read a book on Mother Teresa, which was very enlightening. Mother Teresa was not the person people think she was. I read a story about her that told her life story. And I learned things about her both not so much in the book, but online. I did some online research after I read the book on her, the biography, and I learned that she was not the person people think she is, that she won a lot of awards from the Indian government because they had a homelessness problem. They had a problem of elderly homeless people in India, and she solved the problem. And for that, they gave her a lot of awards. I found out that in Hinduism, that a lot of adult children would throw their elderly parents out on the street and let them die, let them unalive. And that what Mother Teresa would do, she started these homes for the dying, where she would bring them in off the street, and she would allow them to die in dignity, or at least what she said was dignity. It turns out it wasn't very dignified the way she allowed them to die. She would try to convert them before they died to Catholicism, first of all. She would strip them of all their possessions except for like a nightgown, and she would shave their heads, and she would try to convert them right before they died. Also, she was known for she took money from that guy Charles Keating, who I think was convicted of money laundering or something. And when they said to her, "Why don't you give the money back?" she said, "Oh no, I'm doing a favor for a friend." Also, what else about her? I found out that towards the end of her life, she began to have doubts about Christianity, serious doubts. She became agnostic, and she also became like demon possessed. They had to call a priest to her hospital room. She was hospitalized a lot in her later years, and they once had to call a priest in India, Catholic priest, to her room to do an exorcism on her because she was pulling the tubes out of her body and she was writhing in her bed and disoriented and not making sense. She wasn't resting comfortably, so they did an exorcism on her. And she also expressed to the priest that she was having doubts about her faith. She was having doubts about Roman Catholicism, and she was a nun. So I'm going to stop there and continue with another video. Thank you for listening. Bye-bye.